Welcome to Ask Rich and Ed from Procurement Says No.
Woo.
We get a lot of listener questions, which we love to answer with insightful views and advice. Now we've created a whole new way of listening to Ask Rich and Ed with bite-sized mini podcasts full of useful answers to your questions.
Ooh, nice. Bite-sized chunks.
Let's see what questions we've got this time, Ed.
Well, Rich, will they be fatuous or inane? Or insightful? Let's make it real.
Boom.
Hi, this is from Eric Jacoby, theatric name. He's in New York City in the United States. My company is looking at upgrading an old SAP.
SAPs?
That could be a new phrase. Actually, let's go again. My company is looking at upgrading an old SAP system. Should we go along with Ariba or Salesforce as an obvious integrated add-on, or should we look at a best-of-breed solution? So I think what we're asking here is, we've got an old SAP system. We don't necessarily want to change the whole system itself. So do we upgrade that, or do we add some bolt-ons from SAP Ariba or Salesforce to make it better, make it a best-of-breed solution? What do we do?
Personally, from personal experience, I would go best of breed from one of the many hundreds and hundreds of tech providers out there, the 600 and counting, we said last time, didn't we? I'd go for best of breed, and don't believe the hype about fully integrated, because especially if you've got an older version of something like SAP, you will find that the latest version of Ariba doesn't actually integrate very well with the older version of SAP. So go best of breed.
Sage advice, Rich. Sage advice. The biggest impediment to taking any route is your enterprise system being out of date. And in some cases, they become not supported. Most vendors are going to cloud-based solutions. So if you've got some older version that is resident within your business or whatever, then I think you're going to have problems integrating with anything because of support. There's a broader set of considerations, I think.
And going back to our previous question as well, we, in a previous life, were implementing Ariba, and we were doing it with UNSPSC. And we discovered that the old version of SAP didn't work with UNSPSC.
Excellent.
It was brilliant. Next one is from Merrick Johnson in Montreal in Canada. I'm heading up a medium-sized procurement team located in different locations across the country. In Canada, we have 5 manufacturing plants with small procurement teams plus an HQ centre in Montreal. What is in vogue from an organisation point of view? Should I centralise or decentralise the team in order to improve team bonding and performance? Eduardo, what do you reckon?
Cool. Age-old question, isn't it? Shall I centralise? Shall I decentralise? Shall I have a hybrid model? I think it depends which way the wind's blowing. I think these things go in and out of vogue. I think you have to think about the strategy of the organisation, the sort of the thinking within the organisation about how it operates. Are all your sites corralled with one HR group at the centre, one sales group at the centre, one IT group at the centre, or is it generally decentralised? You have to think about what the CEO or the president of the organisation is thinking, and the board are thinking in terms of the direction of the business, because I think that you have to reflect the way in which the operation operates. Either is workable. It depends on the organisational model and the strategy of the business. A lot of businesses, I think, operate with some sort of hybrid model, typically when they've got multiple sites. Canada is a massive country. It's quite difficult to manage a team member who's in a different time zone to you on one side of the country where you're on another side.
Speaking French.
Yeah, exactly. You've got language issues, got cultural issues, differences of way of thinking and so forth. So I think there's a whole series of factors that you have to throw into the bucket, stir up to give you an answer to that one.
Yeah, I agree. And we all use Teams now. Whatever happened to Zoom? Zoom had it all, didn't they? And then they lost it all. So it's much easier to communicate now across Teams. And given that lots of people are also working from home, there's less of a site-based culture anyway across businesses. But I think single management accountability is good. So maybe a solid functional line and a dotted sort of local management line works well, or vice versa. Depends, as you say, depends on the culture, the overall culture of the business. But key to it, I think, is creating that sense of team, within the function, and creating a career path within the function as well. So you may be remote, but you're part of the procurement team. You're part of your local team, but you're also part of the procurement team.
In a previous life, I ran a business globally, and I had procurement people in Australia, and it's almost impossible to manage them. They were based in Sydney and Adelaide. Some of the time for Sydney, the time difference is 11 hours. You just try communicating, try having team meetings when the time difference is 11 hours. You're talking to your Australian counterpart and saying, well, we're going to have a call. We'll do it in the UK at midday or whatever, or 10 in the morning. And you're going to be on at midnight.
Yeah.
And then the US team are going to be on at, 7 in the morning. It's very difficult. When I was in that role, I got a lot of pressure from the board to relinquish responsibility for Australia, which I resisted, and possibly foolishly. But they felt more comfortable, I think, with me because we're all procurement folk in an outsourcing environment. But it's very difficult to make it work.
Back in whenever this 2000s, I was at Cadbury's and we had a global procurement leadership team. But the guy from Australia used to come on the call. So we were having a, 9 o'clock call on Friday morning or something. And he would be, it's 7 o'clock Friday evening. And now I'm on the veranda with my glass of red. So it was a much more relaxed meeting for him. So anyway, yes. So it depends is the answer to Merrick Johnson. It depends. Last question is from Milton Erickson in Nevada, USA. I am way behind my savings targets for the year. Should I make something up to ensure I hit my targets? Given the state of company data, no one would ever know.
Ooh, no. Integrity is rather important in business life. The answer is no, do not make your savings targets up. If you have good reason for not hitting your targets, then everybody understands. If you haven't hit your savings targets because you haven't been doing anything, then you deserve what you get.
Yeah. You can bend the reality a little bit, can't you? But you've got to have credibility. So there's, back to that sort of cost avoidance and all that kind of stuff. You need to have some credibility in your figures. You can't just make stuff up. Otherwise, it will come back and bite you in the bum. And no one will ever believe a thing you say ever again, Milton.
And also, I think that at the heart of being in procurement in a commercial function, what is central to that is personal integrity. So if you ever get found out, there is a good chance that you'll be disciplined or fired.
Yes. So Milton, look into the eyes, not around the eyes, look into the eyes. Don't make it up.
No. Building on your point, Rich, when you're thinking about savings delivery, I know that the finance function, the business, want you to only focus on price reduction and stuff that makes a clear impact to the bottom line. But there's no reason you shouldn't measure softer savings, so cost avoidance and so forth, efficiency improvements, and report them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the same credit for them as a out-and-out price reduction that is P&L benefiting, but for those other savings, I think they're worth talking about. And if you're reporting back to the finance leadership or whatever, and you haven't hit your numbers, but you're saying, well, actually, I've done all these other good things, you won't get the same accolade, but they're less likely to get angsty.
Yeah. So we've got more innovation, we've got a new product range, we've got support from suppliers, they're doing things that they wouldn't normally help us with, we've got better performance, etc. Yeah.
And next year I will deliver my numbers because I've done all these things in preparation. Obviously, if you're not delivering savings and you're in that type of business, then you're perhaps in the wrong role.
Alternatively, you could just say, I've saved £16 billion this year. I just can't prove it.
Excellent. That's how we got through our careers.
Absolutely. That's all the questions from this time.
Super.
All of the questions, all of the answers. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.